Hello and welcome to this full body mobility routine. This is predominantly going to be focusing in on CARs, so controlled articular rotations. Basically this is just taking your joint through its full range of motion, and it will be in a rotation or a circle. So predominantly those, there'll be some which are not, just helping to immobilize, but mostly it is CARs or mobility focused. So this session's probably going to be roughly 30 minutes. It might be a little bit less. We're going to work from head to toe. So we'll work from the neck all the way down to the ankles. So if you have a mat, grab that ready. You don't actually need to do this from standing. If there's any moves that you prefer to do from standing, again, you can. That's absolutely fine. Otherwise, we're going to be quite close to the ground. So from a kneeling position, if you need support from a kneeling position, you can use a prop behind you, like a block or a cushion. Otherwise, sit back at your knees, bringing the fists together like so, just creating a bit of a brace. You can either have the fists facing forwards, you can face them in, it's up to you. I'm going to face mine in, just it helps me with my neck situation, my neck and shoulder situation. So if you want to face them that way, if it helps you to keep your chest open and you're able to brace a little bit better, then you can have them forwards. So neck CARs. Keeping your spine nice and tall. We're going to think about tucking the chin in. So just before we get started, actually, what we don't want is, we don't want the chin popping forwards. I'm exaggerating obviously, but you want to think about drawing the chin back so your head is in line with your spine. And then we're going to think about tucking the chin in towards our chest, keeping the controlling it in. Then I want you to think about drawing like a quarter of a semicircle over to one shoulder. So just drawing that over. Once you're at your shoulder, you're going to think about leaning your head back. So start to lean your head back. Then you're going to think about drawing a semicircle with your chin to land at the other shoulder. And then you'll curl back to the start. And then you'll just reverse. So reverse back over to the other shoulder. Lean the head back. Drawing a big semicircle to land at the other side. And then you'll curl back to the start. We're going to do that twice more. So we'll do 3 in total. And then obviously if you're in the floor and you do want to make this a little bit longer and you want to go through more, then you can always pause and then come back. If you wanted to do more than 3, but we're only going to do 3 today. So moving through that once more. Making sure we're keeping the contraction, squeezing into the palms. Should be almost completed. Come back in to the center and release. We're going to do swimmer hovers, so it's going to be basically like shoulder CARs, but we're going to do them both together, and we're going to just do it as a variation rather than doing full shoulder CARs. Just kind of trying to be efficient. So swimmer hovers ordinarily done on the front, but we're going to make this easier and do it from seated or kneeling. So I'm going to show you from a couple of different angles. So what we want to think about, we're going to take our hands behind our head to start with. What we don't want is any extra extension or flexion of the spine, so it stays neutral. What we'll do to start with is pull the elbows back and then think about hovering the hands away from the head without popping the head forwards. And you're going to punch your arms up. Now we're going to think about that action of pouring a kettle with both arms. So internal rotation, pouring the kettle as you turn your arms in and out of the back into extension. Again, just keep with your range. And then you're going to take the hands to the back. So you're going to bend the elbows, take the hand to the lower back, hug the arms in. Then you'll take the arms back, hover the hands from the lower back, punch the arms back, reverse that action of pouring your kettle as you take your arms up, take the hands back behind the head, and then hug in. I'm going to do that twice more, so we'll just keep with that 3, hover, punching it up, moving it in and round to the back. You can move a little bit more smooth, a little bit smoother if you wish, just as long as the control aspect is still there. You might hear some odd cracks and creaks, and that's fine. We've got one more to do. Oh, if you have done it, you shouldn't have done it. Should be still going. And then finishing on that third one, hands behind and release. Next up, we're going to come to an all fours position. We're going to work a little bit into our scapula. So when I say scapula, I just mean our shoulder blades. So think about moving through protraction and retraction. So when I say protraction, I just mean you're rounding. And when I say retraction, I mean you're drawing the shoulder blades together without anything else happening at the spine. So palms and knees, hook your toes under. Thinking about drawing the shoulder blades together, keeping the elbows straight. So if you're bending your elbows, it might mean that you are restricted at your shoulder blade area. So if it means that you're not going through as much range, that's fine. So drawing the shoulder blades together and then separating the shoulder blades. As you're moving through this, we're going to do about 6, we'll count 6 total, so 6 for each, if I can count. So we want to think about drawing together, keeping the arms straight, separating, the rest of the spine stays neutral. Well, I think I've lost count, but we're going to just do one more for each. Brilliant. Okay, so hopefully that set us nicely up for our next bit. We're going to go through spinal segmentation. So just move through a few cat and cows to start with. So move, inhale to open, and then exhale to cat pose. So this is the initial, basically this is the movement, but we're doing it slower when we actually do it. So come to a neutral spine. I want you to find where your tailbone is, and that's where you're going to try and initiate from. So you're going to try and initiate from this part, one bit at a time up your spine. So we'll start. You're going to think about tucking your pelvis under. So when I anterior tilt and posterior tilt, when I say anterior tilt, I just mean this. So to sticking your bum out, think of a duck bum, okay? And then if you think about posterior tilt is tucking under. So if you want to think about Michael Jackson or Elvis Presley, that might help you. And yeah, that's how I'll describe it. Okay, so we're going to think about duck bum as we start. So you're going to think about sticking the pelvis up, starting from your tailbone, as you start to peel up the spine one bit at a time, making sure that your head's the last thing to come up. You're going to stay in this position. You're going to start initiating from the pelvis. So you're going to initiate from the pelvis, start to think of Michael Jackson or Elvis Presley as you start to tuck under, and moving through the spine, one vertebrae at a time, making sure that your head is the last thing to come through. Starting again from the bottom as you start to stick your pelvis up, coming into that anterior tilt, moving through the spine one bit at a time, making sure your head's the last thing to come up. And again, tuck your pelvis under, moving one vertebrae at a time. Head's the last thing to come through. We're just going to do one more for each. So start again from the bottom, keeping the toes hooked if it helps and pressed, and keeping the palms pressed just to keep that brace. Head's the last thing to come through. Tuck your pelvis under as you move through one bit at a time of your spine, just as much as you can. And then just come to a neutral spine. We're going to miss out the thoracic CARs because you can't do it from kneeling, but we're going to do just lateral shifts and we'll move on. So we're going to take one hand on top of the other, and you're going to think about, we don't want to actually lift the other leg, otherwise obviously you're going to fall over. We want to think about just leaning slightly over to one side and then coming back. And then as you press over to one side, you can think about pushing your knees to the ground, come back to the center. You should be able to get a deeper sort of stretch length when from standing, but you can also do this from kneeling. Requires a little bit of core as you move. Just means you're not able to move too much because you've got to stop yourself from falling. Just making that even for each side. And just release. You can stay here or you can sit if it's more comfortable. We're going to go into wrist CARs. There's a couple of different ways you can do this. So you can either, what we don't want as well, we don't want, as we're doing it, we don't want the forearm moving. So if you want to hold on to from the underneath part or over the top, just to lock it in. And then preference, it's up to you. If you want to have open hand as you do this, you can, or you can have a closed fist. I'm going to do this with an open hand. So we're going to think about flexion of the wrist. So just pull the fingers up or pull the wrist up. And then you're going to move it over to one side. So think of away from the midline. And then you're going to think about trying to straighten out your hands or making a big palm. And then you'll semicircle over to the other side and come back to the start. And then reverse. So take it into the midline, draw on that big circle, come back to the start. We're just going to do 2 more. And just go with whatever range that you've got. You might not have as much range with these if you've got tightness at your wrists and you probably feel like you want to pronate your wrist. You want to turn it in and your forearm, but try not to. So 1 more for each, roughly. Perfect. And then let that go. And when you're ready, you're going to switch sides. So just doing the exact same thing for the other wrist. Just try not to allow any extra movement from the forearm, just totally isolating the wrist. And you can keep your fingers spread out as well. So I think that might have been 2. I cannot count. And then we'll do another one for luck, just in case. You might still be doing your 3rd one. Okay, so that's 3. Perfect. Going into elbow CARs. These are a bit funny. I always get confused with these. So I'm going to lift up my sleeves so that you can see. We're going to start with, ideally obviously you want to have freedom here. We're going to think about a straight arm. We're going to keep the elbow locked into the side. And obviously we don't want to be just hanging out. Keeping the body upright, keeping a little bit of a brace. We want to think about bending from the elbow. So as you kind of hinge from your elbow, you're going to lift your arm up, but keep the elbow locked in, so we don't want to flailing out to the side. From here, you're going to turn, it'll be from the elbow, but it's going to be moving from the wrist. Turn the palm to face up, and then take the arm straight down. Turn the palm, so the back of the hand's facing forwards as you lift up. Turn the palm to face back as you come down. And just doing that once more in this direction. Well, okay. So now we're going to face the palm forwards. I think I've got that right. You're going to lift it up. Now we're going to turn the palm, so it's going to be facing down as you come back down. And then again, so lift up, turn, take it down, turn at the bottom, lift up, turn, take it down. And then 1 more. I always get confused with these. Well, okay, switching sides. So face your palm forwards to start with, face your palm back, sorry. Lift up, turn to face your palm towards you and straighten out to 2 more like this. Last one. So if you've landed back to there, we're going to turn the palm so it's facing towards me. Lift up, now turn it so it's facing away at the top and take it down. So it's a little bit confusing and I have to think about this a little bit. And then last one. And then just let it go. Might get some odd sensations in your forearm, in your bicep area, your shoulder, your wrist. Okay, moving on to the lower body. So we're going further down now. So we've done this section. Now we're going lower. We're going to start in a 90-90 position. A couple of things that just to mention is to make sure that the knee is in line with the hip on each side. Knee's in line with the ankle. You can start with kind of like your body upright and slightly leaning back. I'm going to show you like a little bit easier and a little bit harder. What we want to think about is back knee down, front knee down. The front knee is going to stay down as long as it possibly can. The back knee is going to start to lift. You're going to create the biggest possible distance in between the knees as you can. As you take this other hand behind you, keep that distance. Obviously this leg's going to have to lift now because you've got the biggest distance you can. As you then keep the distance and then transfer to the other side, this knee will now come in, you land at the other side. So that's your easier version. Just doing them from an upright position. You can lean back to make that easier as you transition. If you do want to make it harder as you come, if you want to more glute focused as you come over this front leg, you can lean into that front leg. Back leg's going to start to lift. Exactly the same. Keep the distance as big as you possibly can as you then transfer. Lean in if you want. And then lift and switch. If you did want to make that harder, what you would just think about is not taking the hands as far back. But if it's going to mean that you're going to be able to control it better, hence the reason why we're focusing on this is control, then just keep the hands back. I'm a little bit injured, still working through my niggles, so I prefer to keep the hands back. You can, like I say, have the hands away, but what might end up happening is you might end up rounding and you might not be able to maintain this, okay? So if it's just easier to have the hands to support you, you can, rather than leaning back with it, you can just be more upright and keep the hands down, but stay upright and keep the hands close to you as you swap. For me, I personally just find I get more out of it by actually doing the regression. So if that is you, there's no harm in doing a regression. So just do what's right to you. Okay, we're going to just do that once more for each side. And then last time. Come into a quadruped position now. We're going to focus on our hip CARs. From a quadruped position, or if you want to stand, you can do it from standing and support against the wall if you prefer. We're going to do 3 of these for each way. Thinking about lifting up one knee. We're going to come into flexion, so you're going to bring your knee towards your chest, but you're not going to round your back. Taking the leg out to the side into abduction. Again, no compensation, so we don't want to dip down. And now you're going to think about, imagine you've got something here and you're going to take your leg up and over and round to the back. So from abduction, taking your hip up and over this imaginary obstacle and you're going to land into extension. That makes sense. You're going to come back to the midline, and then you'll kick back and reverse. So kick back, extension, but nothing extra. So keep the spine neutral. Taking that over that imaginary obstacle as you turn your hip out to do that. Taking it all the way around into a circle or semicircle, back to flexion, back to the start, and then reverse. Repeat 2 more times. And you can just do these as slow as you wish, as long as you're maintaining the control. Sometimes the slower the better, because you're going to get more, you're going to be able to feel it more, you're going to be able to understand it more and break it down. So we're on to the third one now. You might not have as much range, and that's absolutely fine. There's days where I don't have hardly any range. Brilliant. Once you've done 3 on one leg, we'll do the other leg. So as you are ready, moving through the other leg. And I just prefer, I kind of go a little bit through into flexing the foot and pointing the foot, but I prefer overall to flex the foot. And then just continue to move through that. Remember to keep breathing, keeping a bit of a core brace, keeping the pressure from the palms to the floor, the knee to the floor, and the toes to the floor to support you. I'm going to do 1 more, that make it 3. Brilliant. I'm going to move on to the last 2 exercises. So we're going to focus on the knees. So I've done everything up to the hips. Now we're going to go through to the knees and then the ankles. 1 leg straight, 1 leg bent. If you find this on the floor, that you sit like this when you're trying to do this, it's just easier just to have yourself either propped up, either on sofa, box, bench, whatever you have. Taking the arm underneath, lifting up the leg. We're not going to go through full knee CARs, we're just going to go through the rotations today. So we want to think about taking the hand onto the shin area, and we're just going to literally rotate from the knee. And obviously the foot's going to flex, and the foot's going to look like it's waving. Hi. And then just keep moving through that. Obviously we don't want anything extra from the hip staying really restricted. It's just all basically from the knee, a little bit of the ankle. From here we're going to move a little bit higher. So you're going to do the exact same, move a little bit higher. We're going to go a little higher again. We're going to keep working way up. Obviously if you can't fully straighten your leg, that's fine. I'm not going to straighten my leg today. I'm going to just get as close as I can, but yeah. 1 more if you can. So you're going to feel it a little differently at each part when you go higher. And then we're going to start working our way back down. So it's going to be roughly around 10 repetitions, a little further down. And then last 5 to 10 roughly. Perfect, and then just let that go. You might feel a little bit of fatigue at the calf, the knee area, and then we'll do the other side. So exactly the same, moving through your knee rotations. You might find that one knee, one like calf, this area is tighter compared to the other. You might find you've got more range, move a little higher. You might find you've got a bit more range on the other side. Again, that's all fine. A little bit higher. If you get any fatigue or any cramping, just try and breathe. And obviously, if you're cramping up, then you can come out of it and come back in. Once it's eased, straighten up, come up a little higher. You're not fully straight, but you're almost there. And then start to come back down. Roughly between 5, 6 towards 10, a little bit lower. And then last set. Should start to feel some sort of fatigue, some sort of work. And then release. Bro. Okay, we're going to go back to this other leg, and now we're going to do ankle CARs. So exactly the same, hold on to the shin. This time we're going to work into the ankle, so we don't want any movement from this now. So this is not moving, it's staying still. It's all the ankle now. Taking the ankle towards the outside, keeping the shin, keeping the knee as it is. Now you're going to think about pointing the foot down on that angle, on that like diagonal. Draw like a semicircle or circle, yeah, more or less a semicircle, to come back up, and then you'll reverse. So you'll take it to the midline, point your foot, draw in the rest of the circle to come back at the start. 2 more in each direction. And then also, if you have got your shoes off, if you're finding that your toes are curling in, a little bit's okay, but try not to chronically tighten and curl them, because, yeah, we want to think about the access coming from the ankle. Okay. All right, last bit. I think that was 3. I'll trust that you're doing 3 and that you can actually count. Okay, other leg. Come to the outside. Keep the leg, lower leg as it is, just the ankle. Point the foot. Draw that semicircle. And then draw around to come back to the start. And then 2 more. And then we have 1 more. I'm counting this time. Perfect. Brilliant. Okay, so that's you all done. Hope you enjoyed this little full body workout, full body mobility. Hope this was helpful, and any requests, any feedback, give us a shout, and you'll see me very soon. Have a wonderful day.